Welcome back to another EDH deck tech. This is my Veyran Voice of Duality deck. This was originally a Niv-Mizzet Payroon deck, which I've retired for the time being. That deck I played for some time and was getting a bit repetitive. So I was really looking for a new commander. I really enjoy spell slinging, so when this was previewed, I jumped straight onto it. I just really like being able to cast instant sorceries, and the fact that all of these are going to trigger my permanents twice. And the Magecraft for making Veyran a bit bigger is just icing on the cake. So we'll go through the deck. So first up, permanents that will trigger based off instants and sorceries. So Electrostatic Field will do 1 damage. So with Veyran, it will do 2 damage because there'll be 2 triggers. Firebrand Archer, same thing, except it's for non-creatures. So I do have 1 Planeswalker in here, so that would count. But essentially, it's going to be doing 2 damage to everybody. Aria of Flame, love this card. I really, really enjoyed playing this in Modern with Arclight Phoenix. But the fact is that with this, it's going to get 2 counters on it. So it's just going to start cascading more and more. So this can be a nice win condition. If you're in an enchantment artifact heavy meta, you might want to opt out of this one just because you're going to be giving your opponents 10 life, but this can go off really, really fast if your opponents, are not careful. Gutter Snipe, a better Electrostatic Field, Firebrand Archer. It's going to be doing 2 damage to everyone, or triggering twice, it's going to be doing 4 damage. So, 10% of people's lives is starting to get a lot. Rao, Storm Conduit. Pseudo Magecraft, so it's going to be doing that 1 damage to everyone, but this will also work off copying spells, which will also trigger twice off Veyran. So this is just a lot of value. You can get some infinite combos with this. So do keep that in mind. There are some ways to do that, especially in this deck as well, although it's generally not a line I'm going for. But you could stack it with a lot of copy spells that will copy copies, that copy copies, that copy copies. So, and that just infinitely loops with Rail Storm Conduit. So, keep that in mind if that's a line you want to go to. It is possible in this deck, and you can take out some of the spells and put more of those copies in, and it will support around Rail. No problems. Sunbird's Invocation. And this is one of those permanents that just always felt like it was just a little bit too expensive to play, especially in a Spellslinger deck. But the fact is it's going to be triggering twice, so you have just more likely to hit some of those spells. So just lots of fun. So some permanents that will help to enable the copying part of Magecraft. So Kruk will either give us a spell or give us a copy of that spell, or just bounce it back to our hand. So we're going to get triggers off the spell casting, which is what we want. We're also going to get triggers off the copies being cast, and then if it's getting returned back to our hand, we can just play it again. So Kruk, nice and cheap, just to get that out on the board. Double Vision, another enchantment that just felt a little bit too expensive usually. But the fact is you're going to be triggering twice. You're going to be getting copies. You're going to be getting Magecraft triggers. It's going to be a lot of fun with this one. 1,000 Year Storm, the big daddy of them all. You can start storming off with some of your spells. It is 6 mana, so you need to kind of get it down, try to untap with it, and then go off after that. But you're going to be having triggers on top of triggers, and Veyran can get really out of hand with 1,000 Year Storm. So if you're trying to go for that kind of Voltron-esque, having 1,000 Year Storm, untap, dump a bunch of spells, swing out at somebody, that's where you're going to get that fun. Swarm Intelligence, another one that I was just like, this is just too expensive usually. But if I can get to 7 mana and I can just start slinging spells, this is really, really going to go off. So this one might be one that you might want to cut for some of those more copy spells, but this one's just a lot of fun if you can get up to 7 mana. Okay, Grape Shot. So Storm Payoff. You're going to be slinging a lot of spells. You're going to be getting copies of those, which are going to be triggering Veyran. So, you can get Storm Count 10. All of them are going to be triggering Magecraft. So it can get really out of hand. So even if you don't storm off enough for, to take the table out, just doing enough to one person, getting rid of maybe some of those blockers, and then swinging out with a Veyran that's been triggered 10 times can definitely eliminate somebody. Reiterate. So Reiterate's a copy spell. It is on the more expensive side. So usually these copy spells are at 2 mana. So this one is at 3 mana, but you do get that buyback. So if you've just got plenty of mana left over, you can just start buybacking spells, which is nice. I've always kind of enjoyed having that buyback. But if you feel like your mana is not really supporting it, you could swap this out with a Reverberate. Also, or one of the equivalents. There's a few like that. Expansion Explosion. Really fantastic card. This is another one that's it can copy a spell, but this one does have the expansion side is for mana value and under, or if you really need to do a lot of damage and deal a lot of cards, you can do the explosion side. But it's there just to kind of copy and maybe copy copies or copy copies and so forth. But it's a spell that will trigger your permanents as well as a copy effect that will trigger some of your Magecraft. Mind's Desire. This one, I kind of had stopped playing for some time only because, the shuffling the library and doing the top card and, doing that a few times can get a bit much. But I felt like it was appropriate in this deck. So this one is a lot of fun and it's a lot of triggers. Again, you're getting that theme going of some of these Storm Payoffs is just going to trigger your Magecraft. Okay, so it's Spellslinger, so we don't play a lot of creatures. So we do want to have some tokens to kind of help with blockers or swinging out. Sorry, just hit the camera. So yeah, you do want some of those tokens to assist. So Young Pyromancer, super cheap. Talrand's going to get some flying blockers, and they're 2/2s, so they can hit hard, but the flying blockers is nice. And of course, they're all triggering twice. Docent of Perfection is an interesting one because Veyran is a wizard, and so if you cast a spell, instant and sorcery, you're going to get 2 tokens. With Veyran out, you're going to have 3 wizards. So it's just going to immediately flip. And those then tokens become essentially Delver of Secrets straight away. So it's sometimes I find that this one, because it's 5 mana, is just sometimes a bit expensive. But it's going to trigger just off one spell with Veyran. It's going to trigger and flip itself. So that's really, really nice. And then Metallurgic Summonings. This one's nice because it can really spit out a lot of tokens, and they can be of a variable size because sometimes you have some expensive spells, sometimes you have some nice cheap ones. And it's an enchantment, so it's a bit harder to remove. I find I don't usually hit that clause at the end, but it is there nice if you need it. If you have 6 artifacts, a couple of mana rocks, and this maybe you might get there. Okay, so to support the actual spell slinging, you need a lot of draw. So a lot of the deck is actually just draw spells. So Brainstorm, it's a great one. It's going to draw me 3 cards. So all of these are going to be triggering my Magecrafts, my instant sorcery triggered permanents, and they're all going to essentially trigger twice. So that's really nice. So Brainstorm, Crash Through. This gives creatures trample, so Veyran will get trample. So when you are swinging out, you've grape shot someone's board down, and maybe there's still some blockers left. You have trample for that, so that's nice. Expedite, just to give it haste, but it's also there because it replaces itself, so really nice. But if Veyran comes out, you can just immediately give it haste, start that train going. opt, just going to scry and draw a card. Faceless Looting. It's essentially 2 spells. You're going to flashback it again later, so it's 2 spells in 1. Taxian Probe, it's free. You're going to use your 2 life. You're going to use it for 2 mana. So it's free. It's going to draw a card. Ponder, great. Preordain, also great. Serum Vision's the worst of them, but it's still 1 mana. It's going to replace itself, and I'm going to start setting up. So if I'm not going to get an instant sorcery in the next 2, I can just scry them away. Sleight of Hand, another one that's just average, but I can choose an instant sorcery and then just put the other one away. Slip Through Space. So my Veyran can't be blocked, so it's really nice. Essentially, it's very similar. So if I have Crash Through and things like that, if I am swinging out at somebody, I can, I'm just not going to be able. They're just not going to be able to block me, which is nice. But it is replacing itself. There are some other effects like this that will, make it unblockable or give it flying or whatever. But what I really want is the fact that it's going to replace itself with a draw of card. Expressive Iteration. Really, really nice. Essentially, draw 2 for 2 mana. So you play this not on your turn 2, generally on a later turn where you can choose maybe one of them as your land drop, because you can play that. So you put your land drop into exile, and then you can play that and pick the sorcery or instant from the pile, and then the other one just goes back into the library. So it's really nice. Fist of Flame. I really, really like this card. So it replaces itself, and then it gives trample and +1/+0 for each card I've drawn. So the card that I draw in my draw step, this card, it's already +2 and trample. So it's already triggering my Magecraft. So it's going to be a 6/4, just casting this, plus any other card that I've drawn. I have Treasure Cruise, then Fists and Flame, and all that in one turn. And it's just now Veyran's getting actually really large. So this one I've really been impressed with. Is a charm just in there, it's flexible. You can use it as a counter, but it's more to draw 2 cards than discard 2 cards. And also just to be a cheap spell. Frantic Surge. Fantastic. I put it pretty much in all my blue decks. You're going to draw cards. You're going to put stuff in the graveyard, which is relevant for me, and then you're going to untap land. So this is essentially free. So again, triggering all your permanents. Then you're getting, and if you can copy, you can stack your triggers so that you can tap lands and untap lands, and yeah, it gets really crazy. Prismari Command. I've actually really enjoyed this one. So you can get rid of an artifact, which is kind of nice, but the treasure token is really good and the drawing is really good. So another one that I like, kind of like a slightly larger Izzet charm. Salinity Vision. It's just there to, if I need, I can try to get an instance of sorcery, which is nice. Looking at 6 cards, you generally are going to get one. But it's also a land on the other side. So if I need, it's a land. And then Valakut Awakening, same thing. This with Fist of Flame, really nice because I am drawing those cards. But it is a land on the other side, which is what I want. Dig Through Time, great spell. Going to let me look at 7 cards and pick the 2 best. So I can start digging deeper. And you've got so many cheap spells that you're going to have things in the graveyard. So fantastic. Treasure Cruise. Same thing, get it down to 1 mana, then draw 3. All right, Jury Ruin Diver. So these are some of the permanents that will draw rather than spells. So this, when you catch a second spell, you're going to draw a card. Super easy in this deck. There's lots of small, cheap cantrips, but this will trigger twice. So you're going to draw 2 cards. So you opt. Ponder, this triggers, you're going to draw, you've just drawn heaps of cards. So it's quite nice. And 3 mana's, cheap enough. Archmage Emeritus, Magecraft, so you will get it off the copies. And the fact is that you're always going to draw a card off your instants and sorceries. So you can draw a lot of cards with this. So this is one of the best kind of draw permanents. I've been putting this in pretty much any blue deck now since Strixhaven. I've very much been impressed with it, and it triggers twice. And then Niv Mizzet Payroon. This was a Niv Mizzet Payroon deck, and Niv Mizzet works perfectly in the 99 of this. It's going to be triggering twice. Now, do keep in mind that it won't trigger twice off your opponent's instants and sorceries, but on yours, it will. So, still heaps of value, and cannot be counted. It's really going to change the game once it comes down. All right, some ramp. So you really want to focus on some of those permanents that will produce mana based off your instant sorceries. So Bergie, fantastic addition. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you're going to get 2 red mana because it's going to be triggering twice. So essentially, if you are casting 1 mana cantrips, you're actually going to be netting mana, although it is red mana. But for this deck, it's not really that big of a problem because you do have some big red spells. So yeah, really, really good. The Boast Clause not really relevant here. And I guess the other side of it, you can, if you need to draw, you can use the other side. But it's really there for the ramp at the front. Storm, Kiln, Artist, fantastic. This is the same as Archmage Emeritus, where you're going to be triggering this multiple times. You're going to be treasure tokens, and those treasure tokens are just going to bank up, and you're going to have much more mana than you would have had originally. The +1/+0 it's not really relevant. You're probably not going to be swinging with this too much, but you're going to be start banking treasure tokens because it will trigger twice. So again, you're going to be netting mana just like Bergie, where you're casting a 1 mana spell, and you're going to get 2 treasures. So really, really great value. All right, Jessica's Will, one of the most underrated cards in Commander Legends until everyone realized how good it was. So I do want to have Veyran out, so I will hopefully be getting that clause where I do get both options with my Commander out. I had this in some other decks where it wasn't as commander focused and it wasn't really performing as well. But with here, I want Veyran out. I want Veyran out as much as possible. So being able to have Veyran out and then cast this, you're going to get those spells, and then you're going to get some red mana to cast them. So it's been really fantastic. Season Song, another one just to kind of ramp out some red mana. You could put in any kind of other ritual in here. The Season Song's been really great, especially with some of those big permanents, those big enchantment permanents that I have. Sunburns, Invocation, and things like that. Getting this and then getting that out nice and early has been really nice. Okay, so just your generic artifact ramp. So you do still need some of that. Soul Ring, classic. Arcane Signet, classic. Fellwar Stone. You're playing blue and red. Blue's very popular, and red, it's a secondary popular color, I guess. So you may get one of your colors here, so I wouldn't worry too much. Is it Signet? Great. Mindstone can draw if I really need to. I'm not too fussed about the colorless mana. When this was in the Mizzet deck, I didn't have any of these kind of artifacts, but I'm not too fussed about the colorless mana in here. I have a lot of one generic and a red spells, so it's not that big of a problem. And this is nice because it can draw me a card. Talisman of Creativity, classic. Thought Vessel, you can have a lot of cards, so this is great just to make sure that you have no maximum hand size. Midnight Clock, this is the only 3 mana mana rock I have in here. I did put this in my blue decks. It's nice just to be able to refill your hand, especially if Veyran is kind of just churning through some of those spells. It's nice sometimes just to have a way to refill your hand, and it's rather quick in a game of Commander. Okay, some removal. So Veyran is a real proactive deck. So I have only one counterspell, and it's Stubborn Denial. But I mean, you could put as many counterspells as you feel necessary. But I wanted to be much more proactive. But I couldn't resist the value of Stubborn Denial, 1 mana negate, because you will get that ferocious trigger, because Magecraft will trigger and Veyran will be a 4/4. So you're always going to get the negate part of it. So I just couldn't resist putting it in. Just 1 mana, it's just great. Pongify, I get to destroy a creature. I don't really care about the token. Rapid hybridization, same thing. Vandal Blast, classic, is going to get rid of all the artifacts that my opponents control. Reality Shift, so this is going to exile. The Manifest clause is not really going to be too much of a problem. They may get a creature, they may not. Resculpt is another one I'm trying out. The 4/4 is not that relevant. It's starting to get big as a 4/4, but it doesn't have flying or anything like that. It's the fact that this is just 2 mana. So yeah, nice. Chaos Warp, just to get rid of anything that I can't normally deal with. And then Blasphemous Act. Again, I'm not really playing a lot of board wipes in here. I want to be just super proactive. I want to make them have the answers in this deck. I don't want to be the one trying to answer them. But Blasphemous Act, just super value. So yeah. Okay, some Graveyard recursion. So I'll be filling out my graveyard a lot. So Finale of Promise, fantastic, because you do copy those spells and cast those copies. So you're going to get triggers from this, and you're going to be getting a lot of double triggers. So do keep that in mind. Getting to 10 X is 10. I've never done it, but the fact is I can just do X is 1, and I'm going to be getting some cheap cantrips, and that's just going to be fine, because this is going to be casting me spells, which is going to be triggering my permanents, and I'm going to be drawing cards, so which is the name of the game. Music's Mastery, absolute blowout, can be game ending. You are going to cast your entire graveyard. Again, you have heaps of instants and sorceries, all these spells in your graveyard. You can just overload it at the end of the game. Do keep in mind that this turn could take some time. If you saw the previous Game Nights episode where they did use this, keep that in mind. You'll see exactly what it can do. Past in Flames, another one where I might want to just kind of storm off for 1 turn. And it's nice because if it gets into the graveyard, I can just flash it back. But I'm going to be casting those spells, so reusing those spells in my graveyard. If my hand or my draws aren't really working out, but I've got heaps in my graveyard, I'll still always have value at hand. And then the last instant and sorcery is Temur Battle Rage. This one's a bit of a pet card. It doesn't really fit in any other category other than it is only there to kind of do the Voltron, have Veyran swing out. So again, you will meet the Ferocious Claws automatically, so you will get Trample and Double Strike. So just casting this spell, you're going to have a 4/4 Double Strike Trample, and then any other subsequent spell. So you're going to swing out at somebody. Say maybe you've cast a few spells, so you're at 10/10, or like I guess 10/10, and then you can't, and then they're like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And then you of course cast Temur Battle Rage. You're going to swing out and do enough commander damage to get them out of the game. So if you have played Modern, you play against Death Shadow, very similar functionality. I do play that in Modern, so I really love it when my opponents have to work out, okay, can I block? Do I have to make sure that they have it? Things like that. So just having that surprise factor, just been a lot of fun. All right, lands. Very typical kind of is it lands. So I am kind of a bit mana hungry in my colors. So although I have some colorless mana generation, I still want to be as on color as possible. And I have a very even ratio. So Cascade Blades, Bluffs just to help filter. Castle Vantress, just nice. It will scry. I will generally have an island. Command Tower, fantastic. Fabled Passage, good with Brainstorm. I can brainstorm spells that I don't want away. And yeah, I do plan to get to 4 lands, so this is fine. Fiery Islet, just in case I need to draw. Forgotten Cave, another one. In later game, I can just draw, which is nice. Frostboil Snarl. It's okay. It's there because in blue red you don't have as many dual lands as some of the other colors. So and you just have to reveal an instant or mountain. So even some that have types instant island or mountain will be also fine. Or if you have say like it's on turn 1, I don't have too many kind of turn 1 plays that I need to play. So you can just kind of put it out tap, whatever. Lonely Sandbar just to draw. Mystic Sanctuary. I have a lot of islands, so getting one of those spells back. But maybe you want to lean more towards red. You might want to take this one out. Prismatic Vista, another fetch, just to and good with Brainstorm. River Glide Pathway, just in case I need the option, I can flip it to red or blue. Scalding Tarn, just a fetch, great with Brainstorm. Shivan Reef, Painland, great, just to give my colors. Steam Vent, Shockland, great. Sulphur Falls, I'll generally have a mountain or an island, so that's no problems. Temple Epiphany, just a scry. This one's one of the few that come in tapped other than the cycling lands, but those I will generally cycle rather than play. But, play it tapped if you have to. Training Center, great. You generally have 2 or more opponents, so that's no problems. Reliquary Tower, so this is another one that's kind of based off Thought Vessel. There are some turns where you will have a lot of cards in hand because you were just copying draw spells or having big draw spells. I've copied Treasure Cruisers so that you're just needing 6 cards and whatever cards you still have. So having a Reliquary Tower has been really nice. And then the rest is just basics, islands and mountains. So that's my Veyran Voice of Duality. Really, really enjoyed it. Just keep on top of your triggers so that you don't bother your opponents too much. But has been a blast to play. Very proactive, not usually a style that I do play. So it's been a nice, fresh, kind of play style for me. And I've really enjoyed it. So thanks.